Can the Dallas Cowboys find a way to score 20-plus points on this Jets defense? All that and more this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Cowboys. Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. Landon, it's officially week 2. The Cowboys have an interesting matchup this week against the Jets. I want to start with the offense. Do you think this Cowboys offense, that's likely going to be without Tyler Smith at left guard, potentially without Brandon Cooks at receiver, can find a way to score 21, 24 points against this Jets defense?
You know, it's an interesting question because we just haven't seen a lot of the offense yet, right? We saw kind of a small sample size and a very weird kind of game script, right? Because the Cowboys got out to an early a lead, in the early part of the game. So we just haven't gotten a chance to kind of see this offense, in its new form in a neutral game script, just trying to, get by. So I tend to think that they can. I think it's going to be a very tough slog. This is an incredible defense. Really, it's not too dissimilar in a lot of ways to what, we saw and have seen in the past with the 49ers. Obviously with the crossover, the defensive coordinator coming over to be the head coach and just some other aspects of it. It really feels like the strength of the defensive line, not just the scheme aspect of it, but the way that the team is actually constructed. And obviously in the past, the Cowboys have had problems, moving the football on the 49ers defense. So I think it's going to be an interesting question. I mean, obviously you feel a lot better if Tyler Smith was in there, that hopefully you could move some bodies a little bit more
and run the ball. I question how they're going to run the ball in this game.
That's going to be the big question. I do think that they're going to need to find a way to run the football a little bit, just to kind of get some movement on those linebackers and those safeties to kind of pull them up a little bit to open up passing lanes down the field against what is some very good cornerbacks on the outside. But I think that they have the capability to score those points. To me, though, I think the important thing is controlling the ball, and that's really where you're going to need to find the run game, because I think that, now that Zach Wilson is the quarterback, right, and also now that you've got a questionable kicker at this situation, their offense is going to really struggle. I mean,
we should mention just really quickly, Greg Zuerlein has a groin injury. He's questionable to play in this game. The Jets were working out kickers on Friday, so that's what you mean there.
Yeah, and if you didn't hear, Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, so they're obviously playing with Wilson. It's just in case you've been under a rock and that rock has been in a cave somewhere. So I think what that means is that there's going to be a lot of desperation in their offense. There's also going to be a lot of just kind of non-functional play. So if the Cowboys can find a way to kind of keep it all in front of them, let their defense do their thing, and just have their offense not shoot themselves in the foot, the Cowboys should win this game. It's going to be a difficult task because the Jets defense is very, very, very good.
Yeah, the way to beat the Jets defense is just to be really efficient in the short to intermediate game. When you challenge them down the field, like we saw last week against Buffalo, that's where they got all their interceptions, is down the middle of the field. They want you to try to challenge them there because they've got really good corners and really good safeties, and their pass rush is really good. So if you have to take 5 and 7 step drops and you're waiting you're holding onto the ball to try to make passes down the field, that's when the pass rush can get after you. But if you can hit a 5-yard slant, a 6-yard dig route, a 4-yard gain in the ground game, that's how you kind of keep yourself ahead of schedule. And I think that's the way you try to tire out this Jets defense, is just having long drives where you're just kind of chipping away, and then all of a sudden you're in the red zone. Then you got to convert field goal opportunities. You need to have touchdowns instead of field goals.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at this from a statistical standpoint, you want to have a higher success rate than maybe trying to shoot for huge amounts of EPA per play, right?
Yeah.
You just want to consistently try to move the ball, get into striking range, take advantage of your scoring opportunities, and get points on the board. Because taking huge chances, it's. I mean, certainly you have to do that to win the game sometimes, but taking, an abnormal high number of chances, it just gives the Jets the opportunity to get back into a football game, which, talent wise, they probably shouldn't be. This is a styles make fights sort of game, right?
Sure.
Where it's a run game and a defensive game. And that's how they're going to try to avoid making Zach Wilson a part of the issue. But the Cowboys have got to find a way to make them uncomfortable. They have got to find a way to make the Jets come out of their shell and want to play a passing attack to win the game, because that's how the Cowboys are going to finish the Jets offense off in the end. So if that happens in the second quarter, the third quarter, that'd be great. Likely it'll happen in the fourth quarter because both teams are going to play pretty conservative.
This is what I'll say about Dak going into this game. One of the flaws that he had last year is he was too aggressive on third down, right? You would see him on 3rd and 13 trying to drive the ball down the middle of the field to pick up a first down, which I'm usually okay with. But in this game, with your defense at home against Zach Wilson making the first start of the year, against the Jets team coming off a Monday night game, like, lean on your defense to win this game on 3rd and 13, which you're going to get into because the Jets defense is that good.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a 7-yard underneath route to Jake Ferguson and punt the ball and play field position. Don't give up free points like Josh Allen did last week and give the Jets momentum and all that kind of stuff. I just want to see Dak understand the game script and not force it unless, he has to, or they're behind in games, but especially early in the game, like, feel things out before you start to get uber aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, look, the good news for the Cowboys here is that the Tex Coast, West Coast, whatever you want to call it, offense, it provides lots of opportunities to win in the quick game. Right. And that's obviously what the West Coast offense is about. So that chance to kind of get the ball out, to beat the pass rush, as they say, that is going to be really important, because this is, like I said, any opportunity to hold on to the ball or to, kind of operate out of structure or to take shots down the field, you can get points that way. That's the way to get momentum. But against a defense like this, and again, especially against an offense like this that isn't going to threaten you a ton with big plays, it's much better just to take the conservative approach, get the points while you can. Don't put the Jets in a better situation than it needs to be, because they're going to find a way to, shoot themselves in the foot eventually with the young quarterback that is struggling with pressure. And that's something that you have to allow them to shoot themselves in the foot. You can't allow them to get opportunities for Zach Wilson to suddenly get on a roll because you threw an interception on your own 20-yard line and suddenly they're scoring a touchdown.
Last thing, red zone is going to be so big for the Cowboys in this game. They might only get 3 red zone trips in this game. If you go 1 for 3 on touchdowns and you have to kick 2 field goals, you might not win at this game. This might be, the one where the Jets pull an upset. But if you go 3 for 3 in the red zone and you're moving the ball that way, and you just score touchdowns, they're going to be fine. I just don't see the Jets scoring 24 plus points unless the offense is just giving the ball away. So be efficient in the red zone, limit mistakes on offense, and I think the offense will be just fine. Later, let's talk about the Jets offense in this one, because certainly looks a little different than we were anticipating a week ago. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fastest and the easiest way to buy all the tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you, with killer deals on last-minute tickets in their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you'll have. Gametime is the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. My favorite part is that you know exactly how much you're paying. It shows you that all the price, including the fees and taxes, right in the app. Plus, you even get an image of exactly what your seats look like, so you won't be surprised when you get there. You can buy your tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you're set. The tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you don't have to dig through your email. It's really a stress-free experience. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We want to let you know about the Locked On NFL kickoff live show that we have going on. Each Friday, Locked On will go live from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on every single Locked On NFL YouTube channel. Host Tanitra Batiste, Jarvis Davis, and Kyle Krabs will break down every game on the NFL slate to get you ready for your team's matchup, your fantasy lineups, which we know Landon cares a lot about, your betting angles, and more. Plus, get in-depth local analysis from our stable of NFL hosts across the country who know these teams better than anyone else. Find Locked On NFL Kickoff live every Friday from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on any Locked On NFL YouTube channel. Landon, let's talk about this Jets offense. Obviously, no Aaron Rodgers. So we've got Zach Wilson starting at quarterback. He's the story. But for me, I'm looking at the run game here because Breece Hall looked incredible in week 1. Mute.
You average something like, what is it, like 11 yards or 12, was it 12 yards a carry? I think it was. I think he had something like 25 yards on 10 carries and a touchdown, which included an 85-plus yard touchdown run. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you go into this game, you obviously don't have Aaron Rodgers. Breece Hall looks to be the most dynamic part of your offense that you can consistently give the ball to, sure, considering that Garrett Wilson is going to be a little bit more difficult to get a hold of unless you're going to swing him out short passes or kind of,
which they probably will do.
Yeah, they definitely will do that. I mean, they gotta find a way to mix it up. They can't outrun the ball 75 times in the game or 50 times in the game, whatever it is. So they will try to find ways to get Garrett Wilson the ball, but the game likely will come down to the ability of the Cowboys to stop the run game of the Jets. And Breece Hall is obviously the main component of that. I will say that the positive thing about this is that Breece Hall, despite what I just quoted, it's very hit and miss with him, right? Like it's a lot of 1, -1, 85 yards. It's like, and so if you
he's
can
our
find
modern
a way,
day Barry Sanders.
yeah, if you can find a way to kind of contain the big plays. I don't think the Jets offensive line is such that, they're going to come off the ball and just bury the Cowboys all game in the run game. They're good. And the Cowboys definitely need to worry about the run game, but this isn't like, the Philly offensive line, so I do think that the Cowboys should be able, if they can I think the key is not so much getting off blocks, it's making tackles, yes, right? Like that's the key thing.
Yes.
You got to make sure that you're solid in your tackling. I think that's really where the Bills struggled in week 1. Mm-hmm. And I think it's actually an area where the Cowboys really excelled in week 1. They tackled extremely well in week 1. So we need the Cowboys to continue that solid tackling into this game. If they're able to bring these guys down, in reasonable time, I just don't know that Breece Hall is going to be able to, generate enough offense to kind of overpower every other thing that's working against the Jets. But that is all hinged on if you can't tackle him. If you can't tackle him, he'll make big plays, and then that could be the key of the game.
The other thing that I saw this morning is that Robert Saleh said that Breece Hall is going to be on somewhat of a pitch count this week. Yep. I believe he had 11 touches last week.
Yeah. I
imagine it's going to go up a little bit, but I don't see him getting 23, 24 touches in this game. So if you can bottle him up early, first down is going to be the key to this game, right? Yep. If you can limit the first down rushing efficiency to where they're not getting 7 or 8 yards, and you can get them in 2nd and 9 and 2nd and 8s, that's where the Cowboys defense is going to thrive. But it's those first couple, first downs, bottle him up, and I think the Cowboys defense will be just fine.
Yeah, and I got to say, Dalvin Cook didn't look great. He looks like,
You can see it
The
every
guy-
once in a while, but it's just like
Yeah.
down in and down out. I don't think he has that same explosiveness.
And so that's why I have some confidence that if the Cowboys can just, play a very straightforward game, they don't need to be tricky. Just make the tackles, play good run defense. The Cowboys should win this game. They should be able to control the game. They're going to need the Jets are going to need the Cowboys to make a couple mistakes to kind of keep them into this game. Don't give them that opportunity. Just play it very straightforward. You have the more talented team as it stands right now, I think, especially with Rodgers being hurt. You're playing at home. You have a schematic advantage because of all these other things that we just mentioned. If the Cowboys defense can just keep it in front of them, be solid, get off their blocks, keep things in front of the don't open up huge gash, don't allow huge gash lanes. Then they should be able to contain this Jets run offense for the most part. Certainly enough that it holds them at bay to the point where the Cowboys can get score. Yeah, and I think that's going to be the real key. It's just keeping the run game at bay, not letting them pop off a bunch of big runs, which will give them opportunities, get them into this game. And I think it just energizes them. Let them make them believe that they don't have a shot. Right?
Yeah.
Like
bury them
in this
right
game
away.
early, take away their will to win this game early, and then just control it the second half. That's the best way to win this game. We'll see if that's how it actually plays out.
That's why I'd love to see like the Cowboys win the toss, defer to the second half, and just get off the field 3 and out to start the drive. Right? Like that would be an unbelievable start. A couple players I want to mention really quickly. Leighton Vander Esch. This feels like a huge Leighton Vander Esch game. Sure. If he plays well, I have a hard time believing the Cowboys aren't going to be really good on defense.
Yep. I think that Leighton is the key guy there, right? Because they're going to be running a lot between the tackles. They're going to be trying to get to the second level to seal him off. The key thing is to get Breece Hall some run room, right? Some lane. Because once he gets a lane, he can take off and he can be gone. So the second level cannot get blocked off. It cannot get sealed off. You can't give this guy more than just a moment of a gap, and you've got to close it quickly. And obviously Leighton being the guy that's in the middle of that defense is got the most important job of them all, just making sure those creases close quickly. You're getting a hand on Breece Hall. You're not giving him, untouched running lanes for, up into the second level, because by the time that happens, he's gone, and you're already in trouble.
And the other one's Micah Parsons. I mean, wherever Parsons lines up in this game, he's going to have a massive advantage. I don't know if you guys didn't watch this game on Monday night. Dwayne Brown is their left tackle. He's dealing with a knee injury. He's been limited all week. I expect him to play, but he's 38 years old. It looks like it. On the right side is Mekhi Becton, who also dealing with a knee injury. This is a bad matchup for Becton. And we talked on the Locked On crossover show. Becton really struggles with players that have speed because they can beat them around the edge, and they can beat them. They can do one step and then go inside. And that's exactly what Gregory Rousseau did twice to Becton on Monday. It just feels like everything is set up for Parsons to have a big game.
I don't see a lot of opportunity for the Jets to win a lot of reps throwing the football on offense. It's a bad matchup for them. The Cowboys are obviously one of the best in the league at defending the pass as both a pass rusher and in coverage. Zach is, notorious for not handling pressure well. He's a guy that, won't step up into a pocket, will drift out of the back end of things. And end up taking huge losses at times. So the Cowboys really need to kind of dominate first and second down, because if they do that, the rest will kind of work itself out. Even if Zach Wilson converts a couple of third downs, they will not be able to consistently convert on third downs if you put them in disadvantageous situations.
Which is the last thing I want to say about the Cowboys defense. Don't give them free yards. Don't commit penalties. Don't be so eager to get up the field on the pass rush that you get into the neutral zone. This offense is going to have a hard time sustaining long drives, as you mentioned. So if you can cut back on the penalties and on the legal contacts and all that kind of stuff, I think you're going to be fine. Especially, fine in the sense, like, I think they can hold them under 17 points. But if you start to do stupid things and play outside of your character a little bit, maybe that's how the Jets keep this game closer than they should. Later, let's make some predictions for this Jets-Cowboy game here in week 2. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Do you ever find that when you're trying to fall asleep at night, your brain suddenly won't stop talking? Do your thoughts start racing right before bed or at other inopportune moments? It turns out one great way to make those racing thoughts go away is to talk them through. Therapy gives you a place to do that so you can get out of your negative thought cycles and find some mental and emotional peace. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's done entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for any reason at no additional charge. Get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. We also want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS because it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, all you have to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can win up to 25 times your money during this football season. My favorite part is there's so many different players and stat categories that you can choose from. I actually like looking at the defensive players, and you go more than or less than on the number of sacks for Micah Parsons or the number of tackles for Leighton Vander Esch. There's just so many options. It's so much fun. Go to prizepicks.com /LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that is prizepicks.com /LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, it's my favorite part of the week. It's prediction times. I think we both predicted the Cowboys to win last week, correct?
Yes. I think. Wait, did we? Did you?
I don't know. I think I might have picked the Giants as the ongoing bet.
Yeah, which is fine. That's on script for what we do, right? Well, I guess for me, I think if Aaron Rodgers is playing this game, this is going to be one of the tougher games the Cowboys would have played this season. I think without Aaron Rodgers, I think it's still going to be a very physical game. I think back to I actually loved what you guys said on the crossover pod, and I tend to agree with the thought process that the 3 most likely outcomes by far in this game are, and not in any order, the Cowboys win by a little bit, the Jets win by a little bit, and the Cowboys win by a lot, right? Yeah. I tend to think that it's all going to come down to how long the Cowboys can kind of play mistake-free football and how long it takes the Jets to kind of make their first mistake. I think if the Cowboys make mistakes early, they're going to keep the Jets in this game, and it's going to hang around. It's going to be a close game. Could be a 4-point game, 3-point game at the end. But I also think that there's a good chance that, midway through the third quarter, Zach Wilson throws a stupid rainbow pass to our safety. We turn the ball over. Suddenly we're 2 scores up. That changes the shape of the game. And then suddenly the Cowboys pull away because they can't hold on. Or the Jets can't keep up. So I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win. I think the line is like 9.5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, on FanDuel, it's 9 the last time I checked. Yep.
I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win 24-17. I think I can't decide whether I'm probably 50-50 on whether the Cowboys win big or win little, just because. And I do think that those are probably the 2 order of likelihood, is that the Cowboys win by a little, the second most likely chance the Cowboys win by a lot. I just think that the without Aaron Rodgers, there's almost zero path for victory that doesn't include making no mistakes. And I just don't know that the Jets can do that. So I'm going to pick the Cowboys by a touchdown.
There is a game script here where the Cowboys get the ball, they go up 7-0, they get a quick turnover, and it's 10-0 or 14-0. And then the Jets, they stick with the running game, but they have to pass more than they would like to, and it just kind of goes downhill. It snowballs on them like it happened to the Giants last week. But I think the Jets are going to play well. in this game. I think it's going to be a really close game. I won't be surprised, Landon, if this is like a 12-9 game going into the fourth quarter. And it's
12-9 game.
Well,
wow.
I just
a bunch of field goals, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's a week 2 game where I think both defenses are really good. And sometimes weird things happen in week 2 games. We just saw the Vikings had 4 fumbles last night against the Eagles. So don't overreact to anything you see really in the first month of the season. We were saying that after week 1, don't overreact to week 1. I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win. Let's go 17-16 in a really hard fought, but kind of, defensive struggle game on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what we're in for, not likely to be a huge scoring affair unless the Cowboys get into an advantageous position where they're get a lead early, and then it could really fall apart for the Jets. But outside of that, I do imagine a low scoring affair, but I'm glad that we are both on the side of the Cowboys winning this time.
It's not going to be easy. Like, this Jets defense is just really good. They are, to me, I think they're on the same tier as the Cowboys are for defense. And you could make a case they're even better because I love their interior pass rush. They've got edge rushers for days. They've got, I think, the best cornerback in the NFL in Sauce Gardner. So don't discount this defense. They're going to win games this season single-handedly because of that unit. And they did so last year. Like, if they would have had a C- at quarterback, they would have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I just add this. Don't be fooled by that line. That line, that 9.5-point line, includes the scenario that we just talked about, right? Where things roll bad for the Jets and then it snowballs, because that certainly could happen. If that doesn't happen, though, I think this is going to be a tight game because it's a defensive run game, which always is, the whole point of that is to keep the game close to the end. I do think the Cowboys pull it out, but don't be panicking if we get into the fourth quarter and this game was within 3 points.
Absolutely. All right. That is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every day. We have shows that come out every single day. We put shows up on YouTube. Make sure you check them out. We are free and available on all platforms. Go follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosier. Enjoy week 2. Enjoy the game. And we'll be right back here to break it all down next week. See you, everybody.